What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. Today, we're going to dive into some of the common misconceptions about the therapy career. And yes, I'm embracing chill vibes today because I'm at the end of a sickness, so I may be a little lower energy than usual. So for this video, I thought it'd be most helpful to put a poll out on Instagram for you all to share what some of the most common misconceptions people have about your career as a therapist. And you all showed up. Thank you. 45 of you responded, and as is often the case in these situations, there tended to be some broader themes that came up in your responses. So I tried to do my best to group them together based on how they're connected to each other, and in this episode, I'm going to share all of those with you. Okay, without further ado, let's dive into some of the themes that popped up in response to the question, what are some of the most common misconceptions folks have about your career as a therapist? Now, keep in mind, I was the one that organized these themes, so you may have organized them into different themes compared to how I did it, but this is just how they made sense based on how I saw people's responses. So given all of that, far and away, the most common theme in folks' responses is that your job as a therapist is super easy. I know any of you who is a therapist is probably chuckling with me when you hear that, because in what world is this job super easy? But let's break it down into subcategories for a second. So the most popular subcategory within this theme of your job being super easy is that you just give advice. So here's some examples of what folks said within this subcategory. That I give people advice all day long. We give advice. That we give advice for a living. That my job is to give people advice or to tell them what to do. I actively advise my clients on what to do, and so on. So clearly, all of those sound pretty similar to each other. All we do is sit around and just give advice. You have a problem, here's what you should do to fix it. And again, for those of us who are therapists listening to that, you have to be chuckling along with me because that is so far from what we do. In fact, therapy is about helping our clients figure out what's best for them. Us implementing what we think is best for them upon them can create a very oppressive or harmful power dynamic. That's what a lot of other people in our clients' lives may be doing already, and they're needing something different. And along the same lines, another subcategory in this theme of your job is super easy is that you just chat and listen with your clients all day. So here's some of the things people said in this category. That I just listen to people talk and get paid to do not much. That I just sit there and listen. Probably that therapists get paid to just sit and talk to people all day. I just sit and listen to people complain all day, and that is my only burden. Oh, wow. Now, certainly, do we talk during therapy as therapists? Yes. Do we listen during therapy as therapists? Yes. Otherwise, what else are we doing exactly? But this idea that all we do is just kind of jibber jabber around, we're just chatting, we're just listening, and that's it. Sounds pretty easy, right? That is so not what we do. In reality, somebody who's equipped and has the bandwidth to offer really good therapy is going to be making their best efforts to enter in to their client's reality. Maybe there's something missing that we haven't caught on to yet. So we have to know how to kind of play detective, ask the right questions to kind of find new puzzle pieces. So we have to know how to interact with our client in a way that they experience us as caring and empathic, while also gathering puzzle pieces, putting them together in the back of our mind, and offering it back to our clients in a way that they can be receptive to hearing it. Because oftentimes we're encouraging our clients to see things maybe in a new light or from a different perspective than they have so far in order to help them move towards solving whatever they're here for. And I don't know about you, but for me, that feels like a lot of work. Even though I love the work, my brain is going. And the last subcategory in this theme of your job is super easy as a therapist is just that it's easy. There were several comments about how people seem to think that our job is not particularly emotionally taxing. So here's some examples of what people said. That it isn't energy taxing. People just see the money, so why not work a full week of clients? They don't understand how much the downregulation time is part of the work. And people don't realize the amount of administrative and training hours that go into our job. Yes, so there's a bunch of variables that make our job not as easy as it might seem on face value, that people seem to think you just sit down, chat and listen, you go charge your, $100 and something a session and go about your day. Why not see 40 clients a week and just go home and chill? Super easy, right? And there's a bunch of admin tasks that do come with our work. And also for a lot of us, hour for hour, 1 hour of sitting with a client, at least for me, is way more emotionally taxing than 1 hour where I'm sitting down recording a video like this, or 1 hour editing a video, or 1 hour responding to emails, which probably looks a little bit more similar to a lot of other people's typical daily jobs. So you need a lot more time in your schedule, and arguably as part of your work schedule, to recover from all the time that you spend seeing clients. The next theme that came up in people's responses as far as what misconceptions people have about our career as a therapist is that we know a lot of stuff. To be fair, we do know a lot of stuff, but let's get into some of the specifics to illuminate how this becomes a misconception. So one subcategory within this theme is that you have all the answers to pretty much everything. Here's some of the responses that fit into this category. That I know all of the answers to every imaginable mental health concern. I know how to deal with everyone's feelings. The therapist knows all the answers. That I have all the answers and that I'm always analyzing everyone. I mean, that would be terrifying if we had the answers to everything. We're still human beings. We do not know everything about everything. We don't even know everything about mental health stuff. The other subcategory in this theme of you know a lot of stuff is that we can read minds. I was surprised how many responses were in this little subcategory. Here's some examples. That I can read people's thoughts. I can read minds. That I automatically know what's wrong with them. What does that even mean? Not my career, but people and my clients sometimes think I have psychic abilities. I don't. And in Japan, people still think we're the same as fortune tellers and palm readers. That's so interesting. I don't think I've really heard that one before, but I could see how that misconception might have crept into our culture. Like we have these sort of magical superpowers that we just automatically know what's going on for someone just by looking at them. But no, we cannot read minds. And the amount of times that I do have clients say things like, oh, didn't you know? Or isn't it obvious? When they didn't actually tell me anything about the thing that they thought was obvious. It surprises me. So I guess I shouldn't have been surprised that this is a subcategory in these misconceptions. Okay, the third major misconception folks have about our career as therapists is that we make bank. And yeah, we talked about this before on my channel. If you've been following my stuff, we know already that therapists are not making bank, and we can do the math to show that very quickly. Just because the hourly rate a therapist is charging might seem quite high, it does not mean that they're seeing that rate for 40 hours a week, and it doesn't mean that they get to pocket all of that rate either. So yeah, a lot of therapists, unfortunately most therapists, are not really earning enough, especially when you account for how much student debt therapists have and how much delayed income therapists have to take on because you're in grad school and post-grad training for so long that you could have been working that whole time and earning some kind of income. Let's read some of the responses in this category. That I'm rich, making bank, and oh, it's so easy, I'd love that job. There we go, harking back to the your job is easy theme. That I'm rolling in it when actually it all goes to room cover, insurance, and continuing professional development. That I get paid decent. That I'm rich, LOL. And somebody phrased it that we don't make money, which maybe they might have been saying the opposite, that the misconception is we don't make money and maybe this person makes a lot of money. So that could be a misconception too. There are some therapists who do make bank, but it's not most therapists. So there you go. And the last major misconception about our career that people shared in their responses is that we have it all together. Don't therapists just know how to be perfect humans because we learned everything that there is to be a perfect human, and hearkening back to the prior theme of we have all the answers and we just give advice, and so we must have all our stuff together, right? Not true. Let's hear some of the responses people had to say here. That my life is well balanced. That therapists don't struggle with their own mental health. That I have it all together. That I have my own life together and have no mental health issues or problems, LOL. That we either have our S together or the opposite of the spectrum, we're a mess. No in between. Censoring that word because I like to be a family-friendly thing. Anyway, we tend to be underpaid. We tend to be working at burnout levels or contexts that kind of feed into a burnout dynamic. And we're also carrying relatively heavy burdens of these stories of the folks that we work with. And depending on what context you're working in, that could be even worse. So if you're overworked and underpaid and carrying a really heavy emotional burden, that's going to set you up for emotional disaster. And we do know that burnout rates are quite high for therapists. So despite all that you know, and even though it might not be your fault at all, yeah, as a therapist, you probably don't have it all together. I mean, does anyone actually have it all together? Like, we could say none of us have it all together, but hopefully you're tracking with what I'm saying. Okay, well, despite feeling still pretty under the weather, I enjoyed going through these. I really appreciate all of you sending in your responses, and I'm curious as you listen to this episode if there's any misconceptions you hear about the therapy profession that I didn't get to mention today. Feel free to leave it in the comments below. Hopefully together we can help destigmatize the work that we do. And to all of you therapists listening out there, thank you for the work that you do. I know directly from experience that this work is not easy, and for most therapists, you're also quite underpaid. So hopefully it's encouraging too to just kind of debunk those misconceptions as well and feel a little more seen. And before we close, I'd like to thank TherapyNotes.com for sponsoring this video. TherapyNotes helps with all of your practice management needs, from scheduling to notes to billing. They have a HIPAA-secure telehealth platform and so much more. If you'd like to check out TherapyNotes, you can get 2 months to try it for free with no commitment just by clicking the link in the description of this video. I think that's just about all I have to give from the under the weather part of me that's here today. If the video version of this was minimally edited, it's probably because I'm sick. Thanks for being patient. And until next time, from one therapist to another, I wish you well.